DSG, help, my course isn't selling well after my initial launch. What should I do? Coming up right now on the Rise to the Top podcast. And welcome, my friends. It's your great and good friend, David Siteman-Garland, a.k.a. DSG. I want to welcome you here to the podcast. And I'm back with another coaching episode, another consulting episode, if you will. And for those of you that haven't joined on the show before or want a little refresher reminder, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll bring on people, a lot of my Create Awesome Online Courses students, just as an example, and we'll work through problems and issues live here on the show, on the podcast. And these are never rehearsed. These are never scripted. There's nothing like that. This is just like a live coaching and consulting call, because the idea here is that everyone can learn from other people's challenges and how we work through them. And I don't do any one-on-one coaching or consulting anymore. And we thought that'd be fun to bring people on the show. And these episodes have gotten really good feedback. People loving these because they're very real, very authentic. Sometimes sometimes I don't have the perfect answer for people. Sometimes, I can't wave a magic wand, but I use my experience of now selling nearly $9 million of online courses and just, mentoring people all around the world to help work through these issues to make people more successful. So that's really what's going on here today on this episode of the Rise to Top podcast. I'm going to be joined by Tosha Schore here in just a few seconds. And Tosha is working through a really interesting issue. She did an initial launch of her course, which we'll talk about. It did $20,000, which is awesome. Great first initial launch. But she's struggling since then to make more sales. She's tried a few different things and webinars and this and that, and we're going to really try to hammer home and diagnose the problem and give suggestions for where she should go next. Okay, so without further ado, let's just get right at it. All right, so now I'm joined by Tosha Schore. Hello, Tosha. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am fantastic. And we just talked about before we started recording. Did you just move back permanently, or what's going on? Where are you at right now?
Yeah, I am in California. We have moved back to the States permanently. Whatever permanent is, I don't know. I'm not such a permanent kind of guy, but
I understand. So for the time being. So we're going to cover a lot here today on this podcast episode, the special coaching consulting one. And I want to start kind of a little bit of context is that you sent in a submission to come on the show, and you talked about how, we'll get into this as we go here, but that you had a successful VIP launch with your online course. And now it's kind of the struggle bus to figure out where to go from there, how to evergreen it, all that kind of stuff. But just give us some context. Tell us just a little bit about you and what's your course all about?
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So I am a parent coach. I'm trained in the philosophy of hand-in-hand parenting, and I've co-authored a book with my mentor on the subject, on the philosophy. And I, in my own private practice, focus in particular on partnering with parents of young boys to help both the parents and the young boys thrive. And my mission, I like to share it because I believe it to my core, and it's just all about creating a more peaceful world, one sweet boy at a time. And I want to help parents learn that they can shift behaviors both in themselves and in their boys through connection. So to throw out kind of the old school, punishing, rewarding, bribing, all that stuff, and really through pure connection, getting to the place that they want to be. And so my course is called Out with Aggression. It's very particular. I listened to you, and it was great because I'm super niched. And so that was right up my alley. And it's called Out with Aggression. Let's see if I can remember the tagline. A step-by-step practice to stop your boys' aggressive behaviors and lift your parenting confidence.
Love it. Okay, so and this is a great topic. It's really interesting. It's really niche. Now, I want to ask a couple more kind of context questions because this will help kind of where we want to go. One thing is when it comes to your audience, because it says here last September you did your VIP launch, $20,000 in sales. That's awesome. How much is the course?
The course is $497.
Okay, $497, $20,000 in sales. Where, just to give us a little context here, where did those folks come from? How did you know them? How did they get on your email list? Where do these folks come from?
Okay, yeah. So this is actually really interesting because you asked, how did they get on my email list? So I did this with one affiliate. And that one affiliate is the nonprofit, that I was trained through and whose founder, I co-authored my book with. In that community, I'm well known. And so actually, most of the sales ended up coming from there. And some of them, but much fewer, came from my list. I don't have the numbers, but it was like significantly more from there. Yeah. So it was actually a lot of the people on I would have had expected more to come from my own community, and they didn't.
How big is your community?
My list is around 3,500, something like that.
Okay. Which tells me, and how was the list built?
Well, mostly it was built now actually I have a free online, I call it a 10-day reconnect, Parenting Boys Peacefully, a 10-day reconnect. It's essentially an online challenge that I've been running live a few times a year.
Awesome. And then you attract people in through what, like Facebook and things like that for the challenge?
In terms of how they opt in?
Right. Correct.
Yeah, I've done it all really just sort of quote unquote word of mouth through Facebook. So not paid ads on Facebook, but natural ads. And I've, gotten between like 500 and 700 people per run.
Okay. So this is great. And are you selling anything else right now? Or is this kind of the main thing that you're selling is the course?
No. So I have an online membership community.
Okay.
And my goal is to actually, after people take the course, to roll into my membership community, which is called the Playhouse. And that's an ongoing, I won't go into all the details, but essentially it's also for parents of young boys, but it's more full on support. That's where I have a Facebook group where you can tag me anytime and I full on answer. We have live, coaching calls every week and support calls and guest experts come in. Like that's where the bulk of my energy goes. So yeah.
See, this is good to learn these things.
And I also have a book. And so I sell the book, I sell the course, I sell the online community, and then I also coach one-on-one. So that's like my high, what do you call it? High
end or high ticket. Right. Okay. Got it. So I definitely have a good scope now of your business model, and I'm sure everyone else listening to us as well, which is great because that's the key things to know. Where's the energy being put? Where are the different things? What are the kind of the different buckets here and how we can build it up? Now, for you personally, what's the appeal of an online course? Like, what's your big reason why this is important to you?
Yeah, so a couple. One, like I said, is I want it to be a feeder for my online community because I want people to go like, oh yeah, like this works. I'm getting some wins. And I get that I would get way more wins if I had ongoing support in implementing this practice that I've learned. So that's one reason why I want the course. Two is I want the income from the course. Like I'd like, the work that I do is very emotionally intense. So I can't fill my days with one-on-one clients or even the community. Like it's just too much. I've got 3 boys of my own and a partner and, life and whatever. So I would like it to be creating some passive income.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Being married, by the way, to a psychiatrist, my wife's a psychiatrist. I certainly understand that draining that you just mentioned there, right? Because that's you have to be in a whole different mindset and a whole different, meaning if you filled your day with one-on-one coaching, that would be a very long-term stressor for sure. So that makes a lot of sense. You could take this, you could package it up, and that's a massive appeal to this. So now let's get into this struggle and where I can help. And I'll offer, as many 2 cents as I possibly can, which will hopefully create much more than 2 cents. But let's talk about this. You wrote it here to me, but I just want to hear kind of in your own words, where do you see the struggle right now? And then we could kind of deep dive into it.
Yeah, so the struggle is selling the course in an evergreen model. So the launch did well, and I was, I feel like my energy's in it. I'm live. I have a good energy about me. People sense it. Also, there were, I did the VIP, like you said. So there were 6 weeks of live coaching calls that were part of that VIP launch. So I think that's a real appeal for people. And then I have not I'm making my money through my membership community at this point, and I have sold no courses since then. Maybe one.
Got it. So there's definitely, so what have you tried to sell courses since then?
Right. So I've also, I'm also in your Create Awesome Online Webinars program. And so I went through that, and I have a webinar, and I've got that out there. With my tech gal, we keep kind of trying to tweak it a little bit and testing it, getting, 100 people go through, let's sort of test this. So she's tweaking different things. I don't understand all that part of the business. It's totally uninteresting to me. But anyway, she does that.
The good thing is you have someone to do it, so that's totally fine, right?
Exactly. So I've done that, and then I've reached out to other people who are all, who are also sort of big names in parenting and in the online world, and am partnering with them. So I have some things coming up this fall where a couple of different things, like actually 3 different things. Like one where I'm going to be interviewed because she does kind of an interview program and she feels like that's what her people are used to. So it won't be a live webinar, but we will sell the course at the end. Another one is like a paid webinar that we're going to do together. So it was sort of me as, anyway. So
like you come in as the expert, they help promote it, that type of thing.
Exactly.
Yep, totally understand.
And then a couple other ones where it's more so the traditional thing that you've talked about, where I would do my webinar that I have for this evergreen process and do it live inside somebody else's community. So I have done, I think, 1 or 2 inside people's communities, and I've gotten a couple people actually. Maybe that is how I sold maybe the 1 or 2 courses. And people have rolled into the community, but it's sort of a drip, Like I really would, for my course, I would like to be selling that in much larger numbers.
Yeah, and it should. And this is the thing, is the way I'm seeing this now, as I listen to this and we go through all these different things that you've talked about, is when I look at the full framework of this, what I see is that there's some kind of issue with the offer.
Okay.
That's what I'm seeing, because it's not here. Let's just put it this way. A course that sells live is going to sell evergreen. Period.
Well, that's good to know.
I know, because the thing is, a lot of people are like, well, there's this live magic element and these different things. It's not true. It's a myth. Yes, live launches are great, and we do live launches, but really, as you know, the bread and butter of my business, and if you look at my most successful students, I'm saying people that are making 7 figures plus a year with their courses, 6 figures plus a year with their courses, most of those sales come from, in many cases, evergreen, right? With a few throw in some JV partners on there and things like that as well. But for the most part, the real long-term success of the course is going to be about evergreen, right? The challenge that I see here is that when I hear 3,500 person email list, when I hear that a lot of the bulkier, so when you did your first VIP launch, you did it with the video series, or what did you do with that?
I did with the videos, with the video series, exactly like I went through. Like, I did exactly what you said.
Perfect, which is great. And then 20K later, right? So
right.
Have you done anything with the video series since then?
I have that also I have that as a funnel. I have the webinar and the video series as a funnel. What I'm trying to figure out is how to get those 2 funnels out to more people.
Got it. But I think right now it's a conversion issue. I don't think it's a marketing issue. I think it's a conversion issue.
Okay.
Period. What I mean by that is that, because you said you've promoted this, you've had it in different groups. I'm assuming you've sent it out to your email list and things like that, right? These different types of funnels, but it's not converting, right? Right. And that's the challenge, meaning what we have here is we need to fix the actual offer and the conversion thing before getting it out to more people, in my opinion, because something's not correlating right with the offer with these people.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so I've been talking about that with my tech gal, and actually, and I know this is not what you're going to say, but the thing that I felt was like people really want me, like they want my expertise, and so we talked about the idea of maybe creating a funnel such that when you buy the course, whenever it is in the evergreen process throughout the period that you buy it, I just have a time weekly where I have a live Q&A, and whenever you opt in and buy the course, you get 6 weeks of me, like
in office hours, if you will, something like that, like a thing like that. And Pat Flynn does that with his course. And people, now, first of all, let me ask you this: one, does the idea of doing that stress you out or not?
No, not at all. Because I love talking to people. I love connecting with my people.
So that's important, because you don't want to come up with some strategy and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I dread doing calls. No, you want to be excited about it. So that's good. Now, here's a question too. Is that a fact or an assumption that you think people want more access to you?
I think it's an assumption coming from the fact that that was offered in the VIP launch that went well, and people haven't been buying since.
And so, but the thing is, yeah, and I get what you're saying with that, but do we know that for sure? I mean, of course you could test it, right? Like with anything that we're making an assumption of here, you could test it. Do you know what I mean? And so what I mean by test, when I say test, you want to send at least 500 people or have evidence of 500 people going through any kind of test that you do. Because other than that, do we really know anything? Not much. You know what I mean? Like, meaning if we send 10 people in and nobody likes it, is that really saying much, right? Not much. But 500 people plus going through something, that would be an interesting test to see. Meaning if you made a bigger deal out of it and said, listen, you get access to me, you get this and that, the support that goes along with it. Because as you know, a course is much more than a course. A course is not just a DVD that we send to people, right? Like old school style. A course is a living, breathing thing online. And if you can add that, if you think that component's important, and again, you know, any assumption like that, because it is an assumption, we're not 100% sure, right? Can be tested to see to see what the response is. I mean, because something to me is definitely off, and I want to try to diagnose it here on this call, because out of 3,500 people and out of the brand that you've built and the partnerships you have, there should be more sales. Period. Right now. And the thing is, we can't evergreen something that we know isn't quite working, because evergreen is really taking something that's working and putting it on autopilot, right? Or tweaking it to work.
Well, the other thing is, like, I know people want it because I created the course, because when people opt into my free Reconnect, the online challenge that I do, I ask them straight up, like, how can I help you? I forget exactly, you know, basically like, how can I help life go better with you and your boys? I can't remember what exactly I asked, but I worded it nicely, I hope. Anyway, I have hundreds of responses, and more than 50% have to do with aggression. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a course about aggression. So I know it's wanted, and I know that people like it, and I know they get results.
Right, which is great, and you're obviously proud of it, and you know people. You know, you're not what I call selling from your heels, which is like you kind of feel like, this might work for people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of excited about it. Like, you know, this is a proven system. You know, you've got the expertise. You know that people are gonna
buy it.
Yeah, they just have to buy it and put it into action, right? And so I think when you do add that live component in, you know, that office hours type of thing, you know, you're obviously going to want to make a massive deal out of that, right? So huge deal that, hey, listen, you're going to get my direct feedback. We do this once a week, blah, 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 blah. You know, I think that could be a big thing for it. Now, did you ever hear from people why they didn't buy the course? Did they buy the membership site? Was there any confusion there when stuff was going on? Like, oh, I should just buy the membership site. I don't need the course. Did you feel or see any of that?
No.
Okay. And assuming that when you did everything, all the promotions have had deadlines?
Yes.
Okay, very important, because like I would hate that if all of a sudden we realized that everything was just that there needed to be a deadline, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't use Deadline Funnel, which I know you promote. I do everything in, what is it called? ClickFunnels.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, but bottom line here is that there's a deadline and the offer expires, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that's not the problem. Have you ever gotten any feedback why more people haven't purchased before?
No.
Do you think that would be something worth getting, like sending out a little survey or something like that?
Yes. I think I don't exactly know how to do that. I think it feels like admitting failure or something. It feels vulnerable.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I mean, you know, I'm just trying to diagnose. And then again, hopefully we can come to more answers here on the call. I think adding in that live component would be an interesting one. That is one of the benefits of once you go evergreen, is that you can now test these things, right? Because you can just throw it, you know, add it in, do a special thing around it and see whatever. Do you feel like pricing's ever been an issue or not really?
No, I do not think pricing is an issue. I feel like, you know, no, I don't feel like pricing is an issue. And I definitely am not going to charge less for it. And you know, just to put out there, like, so in the parent coaching world, I'm expensive, you know, and I've positioned myself at the high end, and I have no intention of being anywhere else. So I don't charge too much, and I'm not going to charge more or less right now. I feel good about where I am.
Perfect. And I know this, I mean, because I personally paid for different experts before for things with my kids. Right. And I certainly understand it. And there's a big market for that. And there's a big high end market for it. So that's the pricing to me is not a problem. I'm just trying to think, what's the trigger point because a lot of times what I've noticed with courses, it's really fascinating, is that it's not an overhaul. It's not let's rip this all up and try again. It's not this wasn't the right topic or something like that. A lot of times it's just a small tweak. Just a small tweak. I call it like the 98.2% rule. It's like tweaking just 2% of the offer might make a big difference, right? Like, is it, and by the way, you have a guarantee with it of some kind?
Yeah, I do. I did exactly what you said. So I, 30 day, the whole, exactly what you teach.
Got it. So I think, yeah, I mean, so let's talk more about this kind of adding in this office hours thing. Now, you said here when you wrote to me, you're thinking about doing 6 1-hour Q&A calls or something like that. I don't know if I kind of like the idea if you did a standing office hour. I think that would add a ton of value.
So like not because what I was thinking is like for me in my in my calendar it's a standing offer. Like in other words, I'm there every week at the same time. I just build it into my work week. As you sign up, you have 6 weeks. So what you're saying is just like have it be ongoing. Like you have the class and then you can call me. You can call in once a week.
Yeah. So like you would get on. So Pat does this really, really well. Pat Flynn, great example. He does this in his Power Up podcasting class, right? And what he does, and the technology is not the important part here, but I'm saying what he does is he literally every week at the same time does a Facebook Live in his little group. That's what he does, right? For his podcast. It doesn't have to be on Facebook, doesn't have to be a Facebook Live. I'm saying what he does is he goes in there for an hour or whatever it is. I don't know. Whatever it is. And he goes in there and he answers questions. People type them in below and he sits there and does it. Now, by the way, occasionally he goes on vacation. Occasionally he does other things and he sends out a little email and says, hey, by the way, I'm out next week, but office hours will resume next week type of thing. Right. And so to him, it's not a stressor. And what I see with that is number one, you're going to add tremendous value to the people that have already purchased. Right. Because you're like, guess what? One of the biggest challenges that I've seen with online courses or different things like that is like getting that more personalized help that you need, right? Well, you could hire me for $80 million, right? Or whatever it is, right? Or, what you get included in the course now is that we're going to do weekly office or whatever you want to do. It's up to you how you want to schedule weekly, bi-weekly, whatever it is, right? But you're going to get that. You could come on, however you want to organize them, if it's going to be like a Zoom or if it's going to be a thing. Because what I've noticed is that when you give like Q&A sessions, which are great for a VIP launch because it's a very finite thing. What I've noticed though is if you offer those ongoing, I don't know why. For some reason, people feel a lot of pressure and they don't sign up. But if they know that there's like weekly ones, they can kind of show up at their leisure. And there's not a lot of pressure there on either end. Like, meaning like, there's not a lot of pressure like, oh my God, I have to fly through the course and make sure I've got all my questions answered because I only have 2 more weeks to get questions answered.
I could totally see that. Yeah. With parents, especially because they're all
busy. And stressed out. Obviously, they have an aggressive child. There's a lot of things going on there, right? Stressful enough without an aggressive child.
So can I ask you a question about this?
Yeah, sure.
So my only concern, I love the idea, and it's been, that's what I've been thinking about, and the way you describe what Pat Flynn does is exactly what I'm thinking about doing, but not on Facebook Live, Zoom, because I don't want to do a Facebook group for my course. But and the reason why is part of my question, which is like I want to make sure that I'm differentiating between my membership community and the course. So part of what is great about the course is the weekly live. I mean, sorry, not the course. The membership community is the live weekly calls. I mean, it's more intense. There's one for moms. There's one for dads. There's one co-ed, and we have guest experts come in. There's more, and we have a Facebook group, like I said. So, do you think that would be adding what you just said would be a deterrent for people to roll into the community?
Well, here's a question. What's the community basis? What's the focus of the membership community?
The focus of the membership community is to counteract or sort of to help people work or notice that they're not alone in their struggles. So the community part is huge. So to notice
but is it sorry to interrupt, but is it like any parenting struggle, not just aggression?
Yes.
See, that's where I'm getting, because it's like you've got macro and micro there, right? So I don't see any problem with that. It's like if you want to get, and by the way, there's some great cross-selling opportunities there too, because if you're in your membership community and someone says, I've got a really aggressive child, what do I do? Have you checked out the course, by the way, which is kind of its own subset and a hyper niche on aggressive children, right? There's a great opportunity there. So I don't see that, meaning if it was the same thing, they would certainly cannibalize each other.
No. And I have like an online classroom for my membership community, and I don't use like the videos from the course or anything. I keep those separate.
Yeah, because what I see is if you're looking at it from like a 1 being a super hyper niche and a 10 being a little more broad, right? It sounds like the group from within your brand is a little bit more broad, right? It's parenting challenges. You said there's dads in there, there's moms, there's different things. That's a little bit more of your broad. And now this course is a hyper niche. You could have another hyper niche course in the future too, right? Type of thing, little focuses. So I actually don't see any rivalry with that whatsoever, because and like then you could, hey, it's even more intimate in the course because we've got a very specific topic, right? And so that's something that you should play up. Okay,
great.
And also, do you have any kind of cross sell set up with the membership site to the course?
I have a crossover from the course to the membership site. Like when you sign up for the course, you can join the memberships community for $1 for the first month if you do it right then. I do have it that way. I don't. The other way, I offer people who are in the community, I think it's a 10% discount on everything that I do. So people know that, and I offer them a better coaching rate, like a much reduced coaching rate, one-on-one coaching.
How many people are in that membership community, give or take? I mean, exact numbers, but give or take.
About 25 or something right now.
Okay, so it's more like a group coaching. It's a smaller community.
Right. And my goal is to get that to about 100 and not any bigger than that. But I charge, it's not like a $20, it's $150 a month. It's $147 a month. So it's not a low end thing again. It's for people who are wanting to do the work. I don't want to just like have a bunch of million people there who aren't doing anything.
Sure. It's high quality and it's discerning, which is great. But another strategy. So I love this idea of the office hours. Do you know what I mean? And I like the idea that putting that in there, and really every promotion you should do should really make a huge deal out of this as well, right? Because then we'll know, is this a conversion mechanism or not? Like, we're not going to know the answer until you try this, right? You know what I mean? And that a lot of times is the challenge and the fun part of online course. Like, if something's not working like this, it's like, okay, what can we do? Let's really go all in on try this and let's see what happens, right? Because I can't speculate on what's going to happen. I mean, if we hear crickets, I'll tell you what, we'll come back and we'll reevaluate, right? If people start converting, we know that was a key component that came in, right? There's like different parts, because I wouldn't want to mess with 10 different things when it was only one thing that needed to be done, right? And the second thing that I would say on that too is I'd look for opportunities from membership site to course as well, because, it's much easier to sell to people that have already bought from you. Right? So look for opportunities there, and it might be more formal, it might be more informal. It might just be someone asks a question about very aggressive boy, and you say, by the way, in case you need additional hyper-specific help on this, here's this, right? And by the way, you're a member, so you get a 10% discount type of thing, right? Like, I'd be making a bigger deal out of that, maybe even having it in your autoresponder for the membership site at some point. Like, you don't want to hit it. I'm a big believer, once you join something, that you shouldn't be hit up with 50 things right away, because I think it stresses people out, right? And like, I hate the kind of old school internet marketing where it's like upsell, cross sell, upsell, downsell, and you're like, what the hell is going on? I just want the thing I bought, right? I just want that. You don't want them to feel like they bought something that was incomplete type of thing, right? But I always see cross-sell opportunities there. So for example, I'll give you one that we do, just something to keep in mind, is that with Create Awesome Online Courses, we were thinking originally, well, we could just sell course cats right away, right? So meaning you buy Create Awesome Online Courses, oh, you need software, here's course cats, here's a discount, or here's a special deal. Well, that didn't work all that well. And the reason was a lot of people weren't quite ready for the software yet, right? They just signed up for the training. Now you're like, wait, I need software? Like that's mind explosion, right? So what we started doing was, I think after we just kind of picked a number, I think after 30-something days, or maybe it was even 40-something days, then we actually dripped to people a special offer for course cats, like later on in the thing. So I don't know how your membership site works, if you've got, emails that go out, and maybe it's just something that you can start kind of informally. But I would have some kind of, everyone that becomes a member in that site should at some point know about your aggression course. At some point, even, and just say, hey, listen, this isn't for everybody by any means, but if this is a fit for you and your child and what you're going through, here you go. Here's an opportunity to enroll also in the course, which is a great yin and yang with the membership site type of thing.
Okay. Great.
So, and those are the two strategies I would give you. I would not overwhelm you with too many things more. I would add in the weekly calls, and that, because you feel comfortable with that, and make a huge deal out of that. Huge deal out of it that, hey, we're not going to just say, here's the training. Now, best of luck to you. I'm here to support you and here to answer questions. And this is how that works. And then I would also look for where can we incorporate this more into the membership site folks as they go along.
Okay. And when you say like make a huge deal of it, can you just elaborate on what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So everywhere you can. Sales page, massive deal, right? Massive deal. It's like, we're going to show you how to do this and you're going to get support, right? I always feel like, and why I'm saying make a huge deal out of this, I always feel like people try these things like in a whisper and it doesn't work. They're like, oh, just kind of added a little copy at the bottom, right? Well, no one saw it, right? We may as well go huge with it. And then if it's an epic failure, fine. At least we know, right? Like we know it wasn't because nobody saw it, right? So I would start with definitely a big deal on the sales page. Any sales copy that's sent out, any emails that send out, about sales emails, about the course. You want to make sure that that's added in there. So for example, this is the course that teaches you step by step, blah, 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 plus, support, blah, 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 however you want to explain it, right? So you want to add that in as almost like your second tagline or like your big deal. You want to draw a lot of attention to it. So sales page, that, and then, any emails that are relevant to the course going out, if you're running ads or anything like that with the course, you obviously want to have that in there too. It's like, get the help you need with our course plus the support. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that those things combine.
To make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause think about that. Think about it's not only perceived, it's the real value goes up when you add that in massively. It's not just perceived, it's not like we're just adding in this random piece of paper that I have next to me here and we're calling it worth $100. That's not what we're doing. We're adding in, this is real value with a real expert with real time where you can go in there and get your questions answered. And, and by the way, as you get into this, you might have crickets the first few weeks, whatever it is. It might take a little while, but just keep reminding people that they can show up. Do you know what I mean? And that over time and make it easy. That's why I'm not saying to do it on Facebook necessarily, but I know that Pat does it on there strategically. I'm not saying you need to do this because you said, well, you don't want to do Facebook, but realize it's very light lifting for someone just to go on there and type a question. Do you know what I mean? Like meaning that is extremely light to go on there and just type a question. Meaning, sometimes the software, I got to download it. I got to go on there. I got to set the time. Am I going to make it? But on Facebook, not only do you get people that show up, you also get people that probably accidentally show up. They just happen to be on Facebook and they see Pat live on a video in the private area. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go check that out. So I'm not, consider that. I'm just saying the reasons why it's not just Facebook because it's Facebook, but it's something to think about is that you do get that passerby light lifting, don't have to install anything on my computer type of thing. It's just something to think about.
And I guess I could do that. Like I could create a Facebook group for that purpose.
Yeah, you could literally say this is what the group is for, is to come in here, we're going to do our weekly things and blah, 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 blah. Again, will not cannibalize your other group because this is I was
just going to say, and in a way, that's maybe then inspiration to move towards the other group. Like, because they're going to feel, the thing about parents is, they have a million questions. I don't want another Facebook group because like they go into super detail and they want help and I want to help them. And I can't spread myself that thin. So if I have a Facebook group and do these live coaching calls inside the Facebook group rather than on Zoom, and they're feeling drawn to answer questions, I could just put in the description of the group or respond as needed. I have a membership community where you're welcome to ask anytime as much as you want.
Yeah, just be like, hey, just a reminder, this group is for, our weekly live coaching calls. That's really the design of this group. If you need more in depth and more, you have questions beyond aggression and different things, like here's a great opportunity to join the membership community type of thing.
I'm so stoked about that idea.
Yeah. Done.
I like that idea.
Yeah, because that's the cool. You make your rules, right? Like you make your rules. You say, hey, listen, I'm going to do a Facebook group, but I'm going to do it in my way. It's not going to be a way where I'm answering questions all day. It's going to be just for the videos. And you're going to get people in there. I love that idea though, because I can tell you right now, sometimes I'm perusing on Facebook and you happen to see a live video and you go in there. And if those are your paid people, they're going to be much more likely. They could just be browsing. But, oh, well, you know what? I do have a question for Tosha. I forgot.
Right.
No brainer.
No, I love that. And I definitely am all about making rules on Facebook. I mean, like, my people know, for example, in my community, I'm off Saturday, Sunday. They can tag me anytime and they'll get an answer Monday. They know that. It's just part of the way it works.
Right. And that's the nice thing about this is that what you've done is you've created great parameters that a lot of people struggle with is they say, well, I remember actually, you know, Renee Christine, one of our greatest Create Awesome Online Courses success stories, and I'll poke fun at her for 2 seconds, but a few years ago, I remember she came to me and she goes, I'm answering Q&As for 6 hours at a time and stuff. I said, well, why don't you just set rules that you're going to be on for 1 hour? Right? I know it sounds obvious, but just say, hey, I'm on for an hour, and then after hours, this is what you do, or nothing, or I'll be on the next time. So, you know, you set the rules, people will follow them, and if they don't, you just remind them. It's not that big of a deal. So, well, Tosha, I think we've got a really good plan. I think we've got things here that these are not drastic, overwhelming things. These are things that I think you can implement, but you got to promise, you got to tell me, send me an email. And I'm hoping to do follow-ups later on with folks too, but I want to definitely send me an email as this gets going and tell me how it goes. And I'm sure the community is going to be very interested as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is my project for September, August, September, October. So I will be back in touch and let you know how it goes.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tosh. This has been great, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that episode with Tosha. I'm going to be very curious how that goes. And you know, a lot of times I can make suggestions. I can, you know, base things on experience and what I've seen from students. But at the end of the day, it's about implementing it, putting it into practice, and seeing what happens. And not trying too many things at once. I think that's a big thing that people get hung up on, is trying, well, I'm going to try 40 different things. Well, then how do you know which one of those worked? What if 39 of those don't work and it's just one thing? So whenever you're adding something in like that, you want to do it very strategically and kind of go with a bang versus a whimper, if you will. So we'll find out what happens with Tosha. I hope you picked up some good things here, some ideas that maybe that you're going through your head for your products and programs and things that you can implement. And as always, you know, I love hearing feedback from you on these episodes. Shoot me an email, david@therisetotop.com. Let me know what's up. And a reminder, you can, of course, subscribe to the show at therisetotop.com/subscribe. It's got all the subscription options on there. That's a mouthful right there. Subscription options. You'll see iTunes, you'll see Google Podcasts, you'll see email, you'll see Facebook Messenger, all the ways that we can get you a brand new episode of the Rise to Top podcast every single Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time. And a reminder, of course, if you have not yet joined the #1 program in the world when it comes to creating and selling online courses, you, my friend, are missing out. Join Create Awesome Online Courses. We've got a special offer for you just for podcast listeners at createawesomeonlinecourses.com/unlock. And by the way, not only in Create Awesome Online Courses do I show you everything you need to do step by step to create, promote, and profit from your own online course, we're also going to cover email lists as well. How do you build an email list? How do you build an audience? All that kind of stuff. Or if you already have an audience, how do you even scale it even bigger? That is all covered in the program. And by the way, in our private Facebook group for Create Awesome Online Courses, and my students don't need to tell you this, but they would if they were here on this podcast, every question gets answered, whether it's a member of the community, my team, and also I'm in there as well. So we've got a supportive community going along with you. No stone left unturned. CreateAwesomeOnlineCourses.com/unlock. All right, my friends, I will see you next time. This has been David Sight McGarland here on the Rise to Top podcast. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.